Hey everyone, Jim here, Boots and Whiskey Podcast. Please excuse my appearance this morning. Um, we finally got off of our fucking 5 day bender of New York City, Boston, Webster, Boston again. We did. I totaled it up last night, and we did 500 miles, over 500 miles, to and from throughout the whole week. We did four different venues. I think we saw Shane Smith and the Saints, Dalton and the Sheriffs, Lee Bryce, Cody Jinks, Tanner Osray. So five different artists, four different venues. We went to the rooftop at Pier 17 in New York City, Park City in South Boston, Indian Ranch, Leader Bank Pavilion. Um, it, the week is still blowing my mind. But so I say all that to say thank you for everybody that's followed along. We still got a bunch of stuff and content to come out from the week that was. But today we have our good friend Jeff Roberge on the show today. Jeff is the drummer of a band from Rhode Island called Foxtrot Zulu. Um, if you lived through the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, and you're in he doesn't call it a jam band, but in the jam band scene, you know who Foxtrot is. If you're a big O.A.R fan, as I am, Jeff is Mark's older brother. Um, they are opening a show this coming weekend at Mohegan Sun for O.A.R, which is super cool and super exciting for them. We talk a lot about it. We talk a lot about O.A.R. We talk about Foxtrot in those days. This is one of those episodes that is super cool for me. And 18, 19-year-old Jim was just lost his mind through the whole thing. I'm not gonna lie to you. I have been an O.A.R fan for fucking God. I'm 38, so 20 plus years now at this point. I've seen O.A.R not as many times as some fucking crazies out there, but and I say that with all the love in my heart. But I have also responsibility. Um, but yeah, so we've seen O.A.R a bunch in those early days when I was in college. We were seeing them way more than you know I don't know, but really cool to catch up with Jeff and shoot the shit, and it's just awesome. This is an awesome episode. You're not gonna want to miss it. So I'm gonna shut the fuck up, and I want you to sit back, relax, enjoy. Unless you're in the car and you're driving, don't sit back, relax, focus on that. Um, but if it's your first time here, welcome. If it's not, you know what to expect. This is we lovingly call this the shit show. You're gonna get an honest conversation here, and we hope you enjoy it. So we'll see you on the flip side. Again, thank you so much for being here, and again, Jeff, thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking the time and shooting the breeze, and it was a lot of fun. So enjoy, guys, and we'll see you soon. Cheers. I started this just for shits and giggles.
Okay.
Like I had always wanted a podcast, and I had, I mean, I've been in this music thing forever now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as I got older and stuff, my taste changed a little bit and started focusing more on the country music end. When
Sure.
you get married, you have kids, the music starts
Yeah.
to make a little more
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
And my ex-wife was like, maybe this should be your podcast, and I was like, you know what? Why not? And
Right. Why not, man?
here we are.
Just do it, man. Just launch it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well done. It's really cool,
thanks.
man. I follow it.
Thanks. I appreciate it. So,
Yeah.
like this is, I reached out to you, and I can't thank you enough for coming on and shooting the shit and
Sure.
doing the thing. I've been a fan of yours and everything you've done for, God, I'm 38, so 20 years at least. Um,
Dude, we're old now, man. Like I've been
yeah,
doing this shit for a long time. It's
you know,
crazy.
I I remember the first time I saw you in Foxtrot. I had to have been 18, 19.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, and like we'll get to it. Probably much to your chagrin. We got to talk about your brother at some point. But
Yeah, of course. I love,
um,
come on, we'll talk about Marky. I can tell
but
you
but
some stories, man.
but but this is this is huge about you because like you know, anybody that's listening to this obviously knows who you are, probably, and knows who your brother is, and so on and so forth. But I've always kind of been wondering, how the hell do you go from Rockville, Maryland, to decide? And where'd you go to URI, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
why? Why the hell did you go to URI of all places?
All right, so I'm going to tell you. So, it's really a bad way I decided to go to college. So, we're down in Rockville. I applied at the time. This is 1991, and I applied to all New England schools. And the reason I did that is my dad is from Wallingford, Connecticut.
Oh, okay.
And so we would always come up to New England for the holidays. And I was like, man, New England is beautiful. So I applied to URI, UNH. I applied to Ohio State, University of Delaware. I can't remember where else. Anyway, so I had so I'm a senior in high school, and this friend of mine was like, listen, we can get you up at URI for a weekend. And this girl that I knew from my high school, we were just friends, her girl Stephanie, we're go up and spend a weekend at URI. So I go up there, and at the time, URI had co-ed dorms. So I stay in this now I'm a senior in high school. I stay in this co-ed dorm. I hook up with a sorority, and all these sorority girls take me to a bar and get me into a bar, and we just party.
Hmm.
And I come back to the dorm room, I'm just like, this is the greatest. It literally was like Animal House. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, this is the school I'm going to. And I hate to say it, but that's why I decided to go to URI. And I
And
ended up at
any
URI.
for people that aren't from around here, right? That's the only thing to do down there is to,
Yeah.
especially off season. When there's, when,
URI was such a great school, man. I went there. I got in a fraternity. Our fraternity got kicked off campus because our fraternity president was selling drugs, selling weed. So we got raided. We got kicked off campus. They shut down the fraternity. We had to move into like houses. Now at URI, you live. It's called down the line, and all college kids rent
Yep.
these houses right on the beach.
Yep.
So basically, by the end of my freshman year, I'm living down the line with a bunch of guys in a house, whatever, and I hook up with a couple guys that were deadheads, and there was a drum set that was in the basement of someone's house, and these guys would play Dead covers, and we just started jamming out. I had never played the drums before, other than I like kind of taught myself. My grandfather had a drum set, and me and Mark would go up in Margate, New Jersey, like jam out, and we started this band. And then next thing you know, we're like the URI band, playing all the fraternities, all the sororities, all the clubs. And that's sort of how it took off. And that was like 93. And then by 95, we had signed our first record deal. We made a couple albums. This guy came to us and like, let's make some albums. And that's how it all started. But yeah, it started just literally. We never played covers. A couple, but none of us were good enough to like play covers. So we
Sure.
made up our own shit, and we got like better and better and better and better. But like that's how. So we always were an original band from day one. Always played originals.
I remember being a kid, because I've grown up here. This is home,
Yeah,
right? And I always lived right on the Mass Rhode Island line, near North Smithfield. Like for me to
yeah,
Narragansett, it's 45 minutes if you hit it right. Um, and I remember, my parents and I used to go to Casertas in Providence quite a bit.
yeah,
And that's when, the Providence Phoenix was still a thing, the whole nine
yeah,
yards.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And I used to get it, and my father would flip through it, and like I've always been into music, always, 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 and like on the back page, it was always like who's played at Lupo's or who's played at the Mist or whatever. And you guys were
Tammany Hall.
right,
What's the place downtown Worcester? I forget the Palladium. Like who's
Palladium,
playing all
yeah,
this? Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
right.
and you guys were showing up all the time. And at the
Yeah,
time, my dad had a friend that he worked with who had played in a bunch of cover bands in Rhode Island, and he played sax and like I don't know, I was just young enough to never be able to get into those shows.
sure.
Um, but so he was in the scene, and like, everybody knew. It seemed like everybody knew everybody, and there was no internet. I mean, you know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
You know, So when your guys are playing out and doing the thing, because you guys were, there was a time where you guys were a household name. I mean, if not here, up and down the East Coast, you knew who you were, right?
So basically, so what happened was, so 93 and 95, we're staying local. We're playing Rhode Island, doing the Mist, doing Providence, all that kind of stuff. Then we were like, all right. So we signed this deal. We made an album. We went up to Vermont, made an album, and then we bought a little like a school bus, like a half size school bus, right?
Yeah,
And so now we're like, let's drive around the East Coast, basically New England, and we did that. And then we started playing, like in Vermont and Maine and Connecticut and all that kind of, just basically bar gigs. And then we ended up signing a record deal with this company called Phoenix Media. Phoenix Media owned King Biscuit Flower Hour. Now, this is going back to like the 70s. And they decided they were going to sign a bunch of jam bands. And they signed us and like Jiggle the Handle and the Big Woo and a bunch of Strange Folk, a bunch of these like post dead, early fish jam bands.
yeah.
And they signed like 10 of us. So we went in the studio. We made a couple albums through them. We bought a 28 passenger church bus and ripped out all the seats and just were like, we're going on tour. And we started, and so we did from 95 to about 2004. We were full time. We were probably doing 250 to 300 shows a year across the United States, just
Damn.
driving around, a lot of bar gigs. Um, we were getting to the point where we could sustain the lifestyle, right? We're
Sure.
seven
Yeah.
guys in the band. We had a couple crew guys. We had, you know, and so we had health insurance. We incorporated ourselves, but we weren't making a ton of money, but we could live the life, right?
Right.
We could just
Right.
like tour, play, do all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it was wild, man. And then in 2004, Phoenix Media got raided by the state of New York. Their offices in New York got raided, and all of our masters, our promotional material, our T-shirt, like everything, got seized by the state of New York. They
Oh,
sent us a letter and they said, listen, if you guys want this stuff, you have to hire a lawyer and go to court with the state of New York. So it wasn't us getting busted, but the label got busted for tax evasion.
oh,
So in 2004, we lost our ride,
yeah.
and at that point, man, guys were getting married. Like we were, like, yeah, we've been doing this. This is great. This is cool, but people want to have wives, kids, buy a house, and should we shop for another label, keep doing our thing, or just play gigs and at the end of the night divide up the money? And that's what
Right.
we since 2004. That's basically what we did. But yeah, man, it was those wild times. We had this crazy church bus, man, and it from Albemarle, North Carolina, and I remember when it finally broke down. It broke down in like South Carolina. We dumped it in a tobacco field, took the license plates off it, um, left it in like so like the farm workers were like, we'll take it because we can use it, we can sleep in it, we'll use it. So
Right.
we totally like took all the shit off it so no one could know where it came from. We rented a U-Haul. We all were in the back of a U-Haul, pitch black. We bought big buckets of ice, and and two guys were in the front. We drove from South Carolina, North Carolina, back to Rhode Island because one of the guys had to work or something like that. We had a broomstick, and we sat in the pitch black in these buckets. It was 1,000,000 degrees, and we drove from South Carolina, North Carolina, back to Rhode Island. And when it got too hot, we would bang on the roof of the U-Haul, so the guys in the front knew to pull over to open the back, so like we wouldn't die. And
Right.
that, yeah, I remember that story. That was one of our many
Damn.
stories. Yeah, dude, crazy,
That's
crazy,
wild.
crazy.
That might,
And
that
back
might
in the
be one of the
day,
craziest stories I ever heard.
and I got like 20 of those kind of crazy stories, man. Like when we were driving through Colorado and 18 wheelers doing locks up and we're gonna get knocked out. Ugh, just crazy, crazy stuff, man. But it was fun. We were doing at the time we were road warriors, and back then, man, there was no internet. We
Right.
were selling tapes, so we would make tapes
Yeah.
of our shows, just like the Dead, and we would
Yeah.
sell tapes at shows. Everything was before you had digital music and all that kind of stuff. So the only way, especially if you were a jam band, and we considered ourselves a jam band, but not really because we had legitimate songs that weren't 20 minutes long. We had a
Right.
couple,
Right.
but like a
Right.
lot of the bands we toured with were like these Fish, Dead, that sort of early 90s jam band vibe. And yeah, man, but that was a good time back in the day like that. We did all that for a while. And Mark, just a spin-off to O.A.R. So we were touring and we'd go hang out at my parents' house. So we'd show up in the bus in Rockville, and my parents were awesome, and we would like sleep on the couch and like do all this kind of stuff. Now Mark and his buddies like Chris, Richard, at the time they were still in high school, and they started a band, and it was called what was it? Fortunate Youth or something like that. They did like a 10th
Yeah.
grade talent show, and then they started this band and they would practice in Chris's parents' basement. And at the time, so Mark then was going to go to Ohio State. So we thought we were so cool, man. We were like, okay. And Mark and his buddies, they'd be like, so can we open for you? And be like, oh yeah, you got, yeah, okay, we'll give you a shot. And we play like at University of Maryland at like Terrapin Station or something like that. And we let Mark and the guys open for us. They go to Ohio State. They hook up with the guy who started Napster. The guy who started Napster loves Crazy Game of Poker. He puts it on Napster, and overnight, Mark and it was probably Richard Benj, Chris, Mark,
Yeah.
maybe Jerry at the time, maybe I can't even remember. And next thing you know, like I'm at my parents' house, and they had a mail slot in the front door, and they had made an album, and like the basement. Chris's father worked at a music store and hooked him up with like making a studio album. Their first album, that I forget what it's called, but it had Crazy Game of Poker, whatever. And the checks would just like the mailman would come and dump buckets of checks
Holy
into my
shit.
parents' house, into mail slot in my parents' house, like into the mail slot. And they ended up on the front page of Napster when Napster was a thing. And next thing you know, O.A.R. is born, and they're fucking huge.
Yeah.
Like every
Yeah.
college kid is downloading Crazy Game of Poker because that's well, at the time. That's like finally you have computers and you have
Yeah.
downloadable music and all this stuff. Well, all of a sudden, like and it was crazy. So at the time we were like, "Oh, you can open for us," and then eventually we were like, "Hey, Mark, can we open for you guys?"
Yeah.
like,
you
like,
know,
hey,
uh,
man,
it's
like we're
so
just
funny
some, we're,
because you I mean, as you know, like we've had this conversation before, but like I have, there was a time there for probably a decade where my whole life revolved around an OAR tour. You know what I mean?
yeah, man,
Because I was young enough and I could. I tell people all the time, like there was one weekend I'll never fucking forget it where I saw OAR 6 times I think in 4 days. Like no
that's
word of a lie,
crazy. Yeah,
and
yeah,
just because that's what they were doing, and
yeah.
at the time, I started
They were
listening to
grinding, man. They
right.
knew like you have to grind when you are a young band in like whether it's the jam band scene or like OAR didn't really fit into like they weren't jam band, they
No,
weren't pop, but they were
no,
writing some really good original shit, man. It was like
yeah,
catchy, good stuff, and
yeah,
people like in the lyrics were good. Like people bought into it, right? But you have to grind, man. Like
yeah,
you just have to play all the fucking time.
yeah. I remember sitting I was in high school and we had to move into my grandmother's house after my grandfather died and helped her out a little bit. And I'm sitting there and it was late at night and I'm downloading music and all that, legally, of course. Um,
Yeah, right.
and my TV was on, and like PBS or something was, and it was like late. It was like probably like 1:32 in the morning, and OAR's on. I don't know who the hell they are, but like, I'm like, these songs are pretty good,
Right. They're
and
catchy.
I
They're catchy.
and I had downloaded like every album up to date at that point, and I was probably like 16, 17, and at that time they were coming up here playing places that you could only get into if it was 18 plus or 21
Right.
plus. So like
Right.
there were years where I was like a huge OAR fan and couldn't see him live.
Right.
And like honestly, like I right, wrong, indifferent, good or bad, like they're the reason why I do this now. Like I
And
fucking
you've evolved, right? So you've
yeah,
evolved in your musical taste, all that kind of stuff. But I would argue, like, right, they were a band probably in your early that sort of like inspired you to
yeah,
understand music, like
absolutely.
explore music, learn about music, find other bands you like just enjoy what it could
Yeah,
potentially could be, um, to enjoy various music, right?
right.
Yeah, yeah.
So like when you guys were growing up, you know was there much music? I mean, you said you didn't play drums until you got to college. Like, was home musical at all?
No, so basically, our grandparents had have a house, or at the time they passed on, but whatever, we still have it in Margate, New Jersey. And when we were kids, that's where we went for the summers, to the beach in basically South Jersey. And
Yeah,
on the second floor of my grandparents' house, my grandfather collected instruments. So there was a drum set, there was a bass guitar, there was a keyboard, there was, So when we were kids, we would, and the parents were like, "Get the fuck out of here." They would send us upstairs, and we would just like play music. We had access to instruments.
right.
And at the time, when I was a kid, I loved Genesis. I loved Phil Collins. I was like obsessed, man. I had every Phil Collins album, every Genesis album. I kept drumsticks in my bedroom and I would practice. Phil Collins is a left-handed drummer.
Yeah.
I'm right-handed. I taught myself to play the drums left-handed because of Phil Collins. Mark, Mark just picked up a guitar, and I think at the time he loved Pearl Jam, Bob Marley. I forget who, but like we just liked music, listened to music all the time. None of us took music lessons. My brother Dave, who's more like the A personality business guy, and he
Yeah.
was Mark's original manager. Like my brother Dave, who's like the middle child, he's more like he has no musical talent whatsoever. But he's like the business. He's brilliant. He's like a business guy. But yeah, that's how it all started. And then I got in this band in college, and then Mark decided he was going to like get together with Richard and Benj, and they started and literally just made that shit up as we were going along.
Yeah.
Literally,
I,
Mark.
I,
I don't. Maybe Mark. Now, I'm sure Mark now has like vocal coaches and guitar, guitar teachers and all that
yeah.
shit. But like when we were kids, he just bought a guitar and sat in his room. I think he just learned like Bob Marley covers and like Pearl Jam covers, probably. And that was like how it all started.
Do you guys now when you get together like talk about how all this like
All the
started, and
time.
like how the hell are we
All the
here?
time. All the time, man. When me and Mark hang out, and right, and I have so much respect for him and the band and his management, like everything they've done to like make a true career, right, and
Yeah,
evolve. And they get good press, they get negative press, they get people to say, "Oh, I like the old O.A.R, but now they're commercial and they write Shattered and it's a bullshit song or whatever," all that kind of stuff.
sure.
But those guys grind, man, and they work hard at their craft. And yeah, we talk and we just laugh about how it all started. We literally were just like so random. And my parents paid for me to go to college. My parents paid for Mark to go to college. And we come home from college, we're like, "Oh, thanks for the degree. We're gonna be a band."
Right,
You know, you know what I mean? And I
right,
can remember the look, and it was like, so I think for Mark, because I did it and I'm not taking credit in any way, but because I had this sort of lifestyle when he was just in college, he probably saw the that he could really follow what he loves.
Right.
And he's like a poet at heart. He always was a writer in high school. He loved creative writing. That was his strength. Um, I never knew he could sing, actually, but he actually can sing pretty good. But yeah, I think so. It gave him the opening to sort of do what he does, you know?
Yeah. You know
But
what?
so,
He and he can, and you. But I remember the old days, the old raspy cigarette smoking Mark.
yeah, yeah,
You know, like
right.
I'm not gonna lie to you, I miss that that voice every now
And
and
he would
again.
and he would sort of off the cuff scat, and it was like, you
Yeah.
know, it was more raw. It was very raw. And obviously when you're in the industry for a while, you have a team of people that say, oh, you got to take vocal lessons, and you got, and a song structure has to be like this. It
Yeah.
can't be this just meandering crazy game of poker. Everyone loves a song, but that's not a radio song. Like
No.
there's certain and you know, with what you do and talk to country artists and all, there, like, you get in the industry and then you have people saying, okay, this is how a song has to be written, or
Right.
this is how you should sing this way. So every artist feels that pressure. But
Yeah.
yeah, like the old school stuff, when it was just like, my guess is they went in the studio and were just like, fucking, let's just play this song and see what happens. And
Right.
that's how we
Right.
did it. It was just
Yeah.
like, whatever comes out, and that's the song, you know.
Now, did you guys ever run into that with like late with the label and shit, where they were like, "All right, maybe you should try going down this avenue"?
So yes, so most of our the so we made one album, we made two albums, just sort of on our own. It was like jam bandy. We just played our songs and we weren't looking at radio play. Then we signed this deal with Phoenix, and they put us in the studio with a producer and like a songwriter guy. And I don't think Foxtrot ever had the chops to be a radio band. Like, vocally mediocre, not great. You know, and our songs were still very jammy.
Yeah.
But they really wanted us to write a song that was like formula.
Hmm.
And so yeah, there were a couple songs on that Frozen in Time album that were like formula songs. And we would play them, and then they say, okay, do the drum beat like this, or do the guitar riff like this instead of that. So in that sense, this guy, I forget the guy's name was Harvey Weinstein, and he was a producer on a bunch of albums at the time. So we tried to get a song that would be radio friendly, but I don't think so. We had a couple on that album, but I don't think we ever had the marketing behind it, and I don't think that was in our heart to
Yeah.
do that. We were still in that jam band scene and sort of, you know, tour a shitload, build your fan base from just touring, trading live tapes, you know, word of mouth, that Fish or Dead model kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, just play good music, people will come to your shows,
Right.
and you know that's how it is.
You.
So yeah, we went through that a little bit, and then we did a live album at the Oceanist in Matunic. That's my favorite. The live album's crazy good. And then we did our last album. We did ourselves. We just saved up money, and we were like, let's record the rest of our song. This shit could never. This shit could end tomorrow.
Right.
Let's go in the studio, record the rest of our songs that we want to put on an album, and just have it for posterity. And that was probably, I don't know, 2008, 2009, something like that, 2012, something like that. Yeah.
So now, with the way you guys are, and everybody has their own thing going on, like, was there ever a conversation where you guys went, "All right, once a year or twice a year, we're gonna do this for as long as whatever," or is it just so
Yes.
happens that everything is, you guys play Halloween every year, it seems like, or in that time frame, you know?
So in 2004, when everything shit the bed, and we were like, okay, everyone's got to get real jobs, and you know, actually follow through with what our degrees in college and all that kind of stuff. Um, we said, listen, let's keep. So we had built up enough contacts, and we had done good enough in this region that we could pick up the phone and book a gig.
Right.
So we said, okay, when seven of us are available, let's try and book gigs. And so I think we always played at least two gigs a year. Now we get older, start having kids, like life goes on, right? So there were a couple years where we didn't play at all. And then every once in a while, something would spark. Someone would call us, "Hey, can Foxtrot play? I heard you guys 27 years ago. Are you still around?" You know, that kind of bullshit is funny. And we play gigs, and then we and always had a contact with the Oceanist. When we were in college, we probably played the Oceanist like 300 times. So we knew we could always play there.
Yeah.
So we would, like you said, we do Halloween, we do that kind of stuff, and then and every once in a while, Mark would be coming through town, and he'd be like, "Yo, you guys want to open for us in Burlington or whatever?" And we'd, come and do that. And then, God, the last couple of years, it was like, "Are we done?" Because we're all in like our 50s now. And then Mark called me up, and he's like, "We're doing this Mohegan Sun gig. You guys want to open?" Oh no, what happened? So the Oceanist called, and they were like, "You guys want to do Halloween?" And we're like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, yeah, we did Halloween probably 30 times in our younger days. But like, we're
Yeah.
figuring they want a new band. Like, they're like, "You want to book Halloween?" So we did, and I put it on social media. Mark must have seen it on like Instagram or something. He calls me up. He's like, "Yo, you want to play Mohegan Sun?" And so that's how that came about. I was like, "Shit, yeah, we'll play Mohegan Sun."
Right.
But yeah, basically we've agreed we keep playing as long as we can get a gig,
Right.
and we'll try we hook up, we have rehearsal days, that kind of stuff when we can. But yeah, we'll keep playing until one of us croaks probably.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so funny because it's like I remember the first time I ever saw OAR in a headlining gig was at URI at the Ryan Center. That was my
Yeah,
first show. It was
yeah,
probably like 2005, right?
yeah,
And
crazy.
yeah, and I think that first year I started seeing them live, I probably saw them 20 times that year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like we were talking about, like they grinded in this area and everywhere for really for a decade.
All their career, right? I think they do really well in New England. I think they do really good out west. I think they struggle in the Midwest a little bit, probably,
Yeah,
in
I mean,
long term.
yeah,
They do really good down in Florida. Um, it's Mark's my brother, right? So I try not to be biased because I could just be like, "Oh, I love O.A.R. They're great," but I got to tell you, man, I fucking love their music. I
yeah,
really do.
you know,
Like, and I've seen their evolution from when it was, back in the day to where it is now, and sort of some of the stuff they put out. And I can tell that it's very studio and it's very,
mhm,
prescribed.
yeah,
And they got to play the game, they got to make the videos, they got to do all that stuff. But like, whether he's my brother or not, like, they're fucking pretty good.
yeah.
They're pretty good, man.
You know,
Like,
you know, I'm not gonna lie to you, Jeff. It breaks my heart how much of that like I was in the Jeep the other day and I put on OAR for the first time in a very long time. And it brought me back, right? It was like, how do I remember songs I haven't listened to in 10
right,
years?
because they were
Every fucking
catchy,
word.
man. They were right, right, right. And I get it, man. Their original stuff spoke to a generation of people.
Yeah,
It was about good times and partying and like love and they had the whole the message about Michael who passed away. Like
yeah,
there were a lot of things spoke to people.
yeah,
And like any band, it's like that double-edged sword. So like to survive, you need support at a national level by some type of entity, right?
hmm,
Record label, whatever the fuck it is, right? So so you're looking at a long-term career. You're like, okay, if we want to do this and we need the support, we're going to have to do what they say. And then at the same time, you want to like maintain what it is, who you are, your identity,
yeah,
and finding that balance is really hard for artists to do, right?
yeah,
And I think like any band, especially O.A.R, because they were grassroots.
yeah,
They were like literally grassroots, man. Napster, fucking Crazy Game of Poker, college download, college anthems. That's what Mr. Brown,
yeah,
Crazy Game of Poker, about about an hour ago, like all those original songs, man, were
Yeah,
just like spoke to people and just like living their lives
yeah,
and enjoying your friends and your hometown and all that kind of stuff. So, I give them a lot of respect, but as far as being able to make this a career, because they're probably what, 30 years at this
yeah,
point, 20
yeah. I
something
think
years,
next
because
year,
we're at like
year,
32.
right?
We're at 32 years, and so he's got to be around 30 years, 20 something years. Um, and to deal with all, and they're big time, right? So
Right.
they're doing MSG and they're on TV and they're,
And
like, I can't imagine the pressure
no,
that,
and
like,
really, to their credit too, like a lot of it is, for the most part of their career, is without any sort of radio push or radio play. Like,
nothing,
yeah,
nothing
Shattered
till
got on the
Shattered, right?
radio,
What
and
what what was it? Shattered, and what's the other one? It was they had one other one that had some radio play, but
oh,
basically
Love and
Shattered
Memories.
was their, yeah, Love and Memories, right?
Yeah,
But other than that,
yeah.
they don't get radio play for the
No,
most part. Maybe probably
like,
college stations, maybe, but
I mean, I trust
no
me. I
national
remember
stuff.
I took the trip to Madison Square Garden one year when they did it. I sure, like,
Yeah,
because that's my favorite band of all time. How do you not go and support them in the biggest
right.
venue in the world?
What was that? 2008, maybe. That was the craziest experience of my life. So obviously, Mark's doing MSG. They sell it out for 2 days. My whole family goes. Um, we get to MSG, and we're down underneath where MSG is, where all the green rooms are and all that kind of stuff. And along the wall in MSG are framed eight by tens, whatever, of various momentous things at MSG. So you got Muhammad Ali versus Joe Frazier. You've got
Yeah,
Dave Matthews. You've got like Rolling Stones, whatever. Pictures along the wall. The last picture is my brother, and like up on the wall before the show, I walked down and I was able to go up on stage and sit behind Chris's drums and just like stare out at an empty MSG. And like that experience, like that's when I was like, holy shit, man. Like my
yeah,
brother is playing Madison Square Garden, man. That's whatever that album, the MSG album, right? The
yeah,
2 day, like, and my parents were there. That was wild. That was wild to me. That they had gotten to the point where they could sell out MSG. Like
yeah,
that's wild.
yeah. It is wild,
Wow.
and like I think about it, and like I've seen them at URI. I've seen them at Madison Square Garden. I went to DC when they started the extended stay the first time they did it, and seeing them at the
I
930
like the
Club,
930 Club or the
like
Bayou or what do you know these like small clubs, right?
right,
Yeah.
right, and it's just like
Yeah.
it's mind blowing, and then like I also
Yeah.
remember the message board days because that's how far back I go with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
And like I see how it evolves and how it has evolved, and like I know people are gonna watch this, and like I talk about I used to talk about the new fan base all the time, and like from the days where the message, I watch the Facebook stuff still here and there,
Sure.
and like
Yeah.
but I remember the message board days, and like some of the things, the comments and the questions and this, that, and the other thing are very similar and very different, and like I know a couple of the guys well from way back when, some of those original fans and Pub 24 and all that shit,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Oh, that's great, man.
we'll shoot the shit through text, and I'll be like, you know some of these people would have been fucking eaten alive in those
Yeah.
message boards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. The fan base now that probably picked up O.A.R. in the later years is
yeah,
definitely completely different
so different.
than the original, as Mark would say, the original crew, right?
Yeah,
The original crew is a whole different, and I follow all their message boards and all that kind of stuff. And there are people that have been around since day one and have a different perspective versus somebody who heard Shattered or picked up O.A.R. to, and all of a sudden is
yes,
hearing all the new stuff, which is good. But
yeah,
like, there's a different, um, I would say there's a different feeling
Hmm.
that band evolved that has
Yeah.
evolved from. The original folks have a definitely a different kind of love
Yeah.
for OAR than the newer
Yes.
fans. And that's not a
Yes.
bad thing, a good thing.
No,
It just is. It's just the
it
way
just
it is,
is.
right? Like,
Right.
and you do this all the time. You speak to bands and you see the evolution of a lot of the folks, and that's how it is, right?
Right.
Like the original crew remembers what it was like when there wasn't all of this other hype
You know,
associated with it and all
I
the, you
I
know.
remember I was at a bar in Providence, and Stephen Kellogg was doing a show. He was headlining a bar, more or less,
Yeah,
and Michael Paris was opening the a couple of shows that were up here. And I walk into the bar, and Benj and the girl he was dating at the time were sitting there, and I was like, and like this is probably 2006, maybe 2007 ish, give or take,
right.
and like you know, I sat down and I'm shooting the shit with Benj, and we're talking about everything, and it's like I look back at that now, and it's like they've come from that point to that would never happen now. Not, I don't want to say never, but like that sort of thing wouldn't be what
No,
it
it
is.
wouldn't. No, it
Like
wouldn't. They're not able to
no,
just have those experiences because there's too many people around them
yeah,
that are decision makers in a
right,
way, in some
yeah,
kind of way, right?
yeah,
But you know this because you know the guys from back in the day, and I will always say this, and I read the posts. Who It's always funny to me when people talk about my brother, and and like, oh my god, I was at a show, and Mark talked to me, and he took a picture with me, and I crack up. I'm like, do you
yeah.
guys realize what a nerd my brother is? Like, do you realize? Do you guys know that Mark is just like he's like my little brother? Like, he's just a guy.
Right,
But I will say this about the band: those guys, they really are just good people, man.
they are.
Like, and even like Mike Perry, like all the guys that have come and gone, or are still there. Um, they're just like all like just down to earth dudes.
Yeah,
They really are. They're just all family guys. They all have families. They all have kids. They all off tour, go to hockey practice and soccer practice, and go to the
yeah,
do all that stuff. They're really not. This is their job. They work really hard at it. They love what they do. They try and want to bring their creativeness to the world, but they're not like
right,
um they're not like weirdos or anything. They're just like normal guys. So whenever I
right.
see like people like, you know, like talking about my brother, like I just crack up. I get
You know,
it. And when I
and
hang
it's
out with them, it's weird, man, because like he's still my little brother. And I
right,
remember like we were like he always will be. When he and I talk on the phone, we don't talk about band stuff. We're just brothers. And same with
right.
my brother Dave. We just do our stuff. But like when I hang out with him and we go places, it's like fucked up, dude.
I
Because
bet.
he's got to like there's times where he has to like wear like a sweatshirt with a hood on,
Yeah.
and especially for New York or something like that.
Oh yeah.
And
Forget
he's
it.
got to like do these things, and I know he doesn't do it because like he thinks it's cool, but like he has to do stuff like that because
Right.
people like
Right. He
come up
doesn't
to
want to be
him and want
bothered.
to talk
Right.
to him, and it's really weird. Yeah,
And it's funny even
or
doing
I
this
don't think he
show.
might, but it's just weird that like. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, even doing this show, like I've been able to talk to a bunch of cool people and meet a bunch of cool people and all this stuff. And like people ask me all the time, they're like, like, aren't you like nervous? And I'm like, no, like these are just fucking people. You know what I mean? Like,
Just people, dude. That's
they're
like
just
what they
people.
chose as their job, right? It's
Right.
just like they're just their job. They like decided they, had a talent or whatever, and just pursued a certain like employment, just like we all do.
Right.
And it just happens to be something that's in the public eye,
Right.
so they get a lot of attention. But for you, you do it all the time, and you talk to these people, and you're just like they're
They're
talking
just
about like taking their dog for a walk and have to
right.
scoop up shit because the dog
Right.
took a dump in the yard, and like
Right.
they're like everybody else. It's just
Right.
a thing,
Right.
you know?
Like I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah,
Like
it's
I've
crazy. It's
gotten
crazy.
I have gotten, starstruck a couple of times, but like it goes away real quick too. Where
Sure.
it's like, oh shit, that's oh,
Yeah.
okay. And then you collect yourself and you're like, it's not a big deal, you know? And
and that's a
that,
nat and that's a natural thing. It's like it's really cool when you meet somebody who knows in the public eye and has sort of like accomplished all these great things, and you've seen them on TV or what, that's like
yeah,
it's a really cool feeling.
yeah.
But for you also to get to actually just speak to them as people, you get like the extra
Oh
bonus
yeah.
of seeing that they're actually real people. They're not the person you see on TV or on stage or like in a video. They're
Hmm.
just regular people, you
Yeah.
know?
And like that's what I
I
love about this
remember
show.
so yeah, yeah, exactly. And you get to do it all the time. You're reaching out, you're trying to find people who are working hard and grinding and have made and are like, you know, rock stars.
Right.
And you're taking the time to get to know them and talk to them and hear about, and I'm sure they love every second of it because you're a
Yeah.
down to earth guy. You're just shooting the shit. You're not trying to like get anything from it other than, you know, I want to get to know you, hear about what you do, and promote what you do,
Right.
and that's really
Right.
awesome, man.
Right. And if you come up, we'll love to. We'd love to come out to the show. Like that's pretty much it. Like
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. And and I see like you get to get out and see music. You're. I mean, what a great life, dude. I wish
I
I
mean,
could do that every day.
we're as we're talking. This is going to come out. We're talking on a Tuesday. This is going to come out next Tuesday that we're talking, in line with your show at Mohegan. But we're leaving tomorrow morning to go to New York City because we got invited by Cody Jinks's team to cover the show in New York City tomorrow night. Like this is
Oh
fun.
man, see, good for you. That's so great, dude. Like I love that, man.
You know.
That is such. Oh God, just a
It,
great way to just meet people and
yeah.
also speak to the artists and get in the yeah, just be part of it. Oh, good for you, man. That's
And
awesome.
like that's what I love
That's
about it. You
awesome.
know what I mean? Like
Love it.
I could stay for the show. I could not stay for the show. You know what I mean? Like at this point, I've seen more concerts than most people will ever in a lifetime. Right? That
Right,
don't do this sort of thing.
right.
And we're gonna see Cody Jinks this week that we're talking twice, like which is great. I can't wait. But like, there's when you work a show or whatever, there's so many other aspects to everything that you miss a lot of things too.
Of course.
You know?
It's still your job, man. You still
Right.
it's all the pre-production. You like it's still your job. You're working. You're doing your
R-
thing. You know.
Right.
It's not. So I get it. Yeah,
But trust me, once those
it's
three
awesome,
songs are
man.
over and I don't have to cover anymore, I'm I'm drinking with everybody else.
Exactly right. You're like you got your job done. You're doing your thing. You got your stuff for your show, and now you
Yep.
know what? I'm just living my best life,
Yep.
baby. That's what I'm
Because
doing.
and the way I approach
I
this
love
is
it.
like I am a fan first and foremost. Like outside of like
Right.
like we talked about it. Like I don't give a shit what you've done. I don't give a shit what stages you've played or any of that. Like I just wanted to be your buddy.
No,
you know?
no. Right. I want to be your buddy. I love your music. It touches my soul in some way, and like that's all it
Yeah,
is.
yeah. Like
It's pretty
I
basic stuff, man.
it is, and
You know.
it's one of those things where like it sounds arrogant, but like a lot of this, it's either you have it or you don't. Like this sort of back and forth, like
Correct.
it's hard. You
Yeah.
can't teach that, and like we've talked to a lot of people where you can't teach that. Like at all.
No, listen, at the end of the day, you have to have mojo. You
Yeah,
got to get the mojo. You got to have it. My brother has the mojo. It's
yeah.
just like there's certain, like you see artists, they have a mojo. You can't
Hmm.
explain it. You don't get it. Like I call it the mojo.
Yeah,
And there's some super talented people out there, but if they don't have the mojo to connect, they'll be the greatest musician never heard of.
yeah.
And that's not a bad thing, but it's just the
Nope.
way it is. Like
Yeah.
it's the mojo, man. You just got to have it.
So what are you looking? Let me ask you this: seeing we have you here to promote the show Mohegan and all that. What are you looking forward to most about that night?
Um, I always love playing with my bandmates because we don't get to do it very often. So when we get up on stage, it's about the other six guys that I get to look at while we're doing our thing and playing our songs and just vibing and having that sort of like split second memory of the last 30 years of like we've done like you're my boys, you're my crew.
Yeah.
Secondary to that is the opportunity for my brother because he's done a couple Foxtrot songs. He's done Ballad of Johnny Baghdad, which is on one of our albums. He co-sang it with
Yep.
Nate, who's in my band, and
Yep.
he does Front Porch, which is an acoustic song that's a huge Foxtrot hit that we've always tried to get Mark to record it and actually do it right, because we think it could actually be a radio hit.
Yep.
I'm hopeful that Mark will come out on stage and either do Johnny Baghdad or Front Porch or both, where I get to play while my brother's performing.
Damn. Yeah.
And that to me is just like the times that I've got to be in my drum kit and playing along. And Mark, I'm looking at Mark, you see the back of his head, whatever, and he's doing it, and we're playing together as brothers. That is like
Damn.
that's like something you take to the grave, right? Like you
Yeah.
just like of all the shit we're it's like we're family and we never thought as little kids on soccer teams or raising our family like we're actually on a stage playing a song together. Like that's cool. So
Yeah.
I'm looking
That's
forward to
awesome.
that. Yeah.
Now, has there
Yeah.
been any talk of recording Foxtrot tunes again, or is that ship sailed?
Well, to be honest, oh no, only because I mean we probably so we've done what 5 albums. We probably have a library of 80 songs, something like whatever it is. I don't think, and we haven't written any new music because we can't,
Right.
because we
Right.
just aren't together all the time. I don't think we have an album worth of shit that's like good enough to put on an album. And we have songs that we've played throughout the years that are like silly or this song we used to play, but it kind of we just realized it sucks, so we stopped playing it. Like we have songs like that, but yeah, I don't think that at this point we could put an album out, put enough songs on an album. But if for some reason we have a renaissance and this O.A.R. show makes us like huge again, then maybe we'll all quit our jobs and fucking try and be like old rock guys. I don't know. I mean, the Rolling Stones, I guess, can use old dudes, but
It's true.
we'll see.
It's true. Now, all right. Now, I'm going to put your feet through the fire a little bit. What is your personal favorite Foxtrot tune, and what's your least favorite?
Okay, my favorite Foxtrot tune is called "Statue of My Friend." It is on our studio album that we did with the label, so the Frozen in Time album. That's it's "Statue of My Friend" or "Boulevard," which is like this kind of reggae-ish, really danceable song. Or Johnny Baghdad. So Statue, Johnny Baghdad, and Boulevard are my three favorite Foxtrot songs. My probably least favorite Foxtrot song is a song called How It Should Be, which is ironic because it's like the favorite song of the rest of the guys in the band, and it's probably one of the first songs we ever played as a band way back in college. Like How It Should Be was just this song we played, and it's not a bad song. I don't know. It's like hippie. It's like a hippie
Yeah.
jam. I don't and it's funny when we were younger, and so Nate and Neil they were like the Grateful Dead hippie guys. Brad was like a Grateful Dead hippie guy. TK um, I don't know. TK and Jeff, not really, but and Miller was like into punk and like, Operation Ivy and the Boss Tones and like bands like that. Um, and I was like the guy in the band who was like into like poppy, like Pet Shop Boys and like The Cure and like shit like that. So, um, yeah, I always hated like the hippie jams, and I always thought like, guys, if we're ever gonna get big, we can't do the Grateful Dead 12-minute songs. Like we just can't. So like How It Should Be, that would be my least. That's the one.
All
It's a
right.
great song. But
And you know,
it just
trust me, I hope the guys listen to this. I'm not gonna hold my breath, but I hope so. What's your favorite and least favorite OAR song?
ooh, okay. Oh, that's good, man. That's really good. Okay, so
And I'll give you
probably
mine
my
if you're
favorite
curious.
song. Yeah, I want to know. So probably
Okay.
my favorite is either Black Rock
Ooh,
or
okay.
Program Director.
Really?
My least favorite, I love program director is like a reggae. It's just
It really
program
is.
director on
Yeah.
the radio. It just and Black Rock just reminds me of Maryland, and I know what he's talking about, and I know the place they're talking about, and it's very Maryland. It's very our hometown, so I love that song. Um, my least favorite O.A.R. song. Whew, that's a tough one. Isn't it Dinner Last Night? Dinner
That's one
Last
of your
Night.
least favorites? Oh man.
Yeah. I don't know, but it's like I like
Yeah,
them
no,
all. But
yeah.
if you ask me if
Yeah.
like Dinner Last Night, that album, there's great song, but probably Dinner Last Night. If I had,
Cause
if one jumps, you asked me to just do like a Freudian. What do you say off the top of
yeah.
your head?
Yeah,
Dinner
yeah.
Last Night.
Because dinner last that was on all sides, wasn't it? I
I
think.
think so. Yeah,
Yeah. Anyway, I used to be
and
able to
it's
tell
not a
you.
bad song.
So so my favorite, and I'm going deep. Like this is never, it's been on the live album, and that's it. And that's Short to Try.
Oh, good song.
Short to Try is one of my
Yeah, that's a
favorite.
good
If
tune.
forget O.A.R., probably one of my favorite songs of all time.
That's a great song.
It is.
That is a good song. I agree.
And
What's your least
we
favorite?
my least favorite. The fans are gonna fucking love this one.
Poker.
Poker.
You're gonna
I
say
can.
poker. You're gonna say
Yeah,
poker. Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
That's
I get it.
I remember back when that was the last song of the night. The second it came on, it was like, all right, I can go to the parking lot now and get out of here before the traffic.
It's their anthem.
Yeah,
It's what got them.
and I get that.
But as far as like a song that is the classic like song that you wrote before you know how to write music kind of thing that
Yeah,
just is very catchy and everything about it. You sing along. It's got all the stuff. It's got all the stuff. But for somebody who's like a music aficionado,
yeah, yeah. The song
they'll
sucks.
see you see poker as sort of this like it's like and no it's like juvenile.
Yeah,
It's just it's like
yep,
that's all it is. But
yep,
it I get it. And to this day they play, people go fucking berserk every
yeah,
time they play it. And I do,
yeah.
but
Right,
I
right.
get where
Because
you're
you have
coming
to,
from.
especially
So
when
if
you're
I
in
were
the
to pick a
crux.
song that isn't, yeah, you got to. And they're throwing the cards and and all that
Yep,
stuff, and they've done a million different versions of it, and they jam it out, and they get creative with it, and you know it's their song.
yeah,
But if you're a music person, I see where you're coming from because
yeah,
there's a lot of really good lyrically written, good musically, good sonically. There's songs that are songs, and poker's an anthem.
yeah.
It just is.
I'm one of those fans where like I like the deep cuts, like like Right on Time and
Yeah.
James and Untitled. Like I love
Oh,
those
right on
songs.
time. James? Come on, man. I mean,
Yeah,
James, dude, written about
that.
Jerry's grandfather. Come on,
Oh
man.
yeah,
Like, are you serious? Like, yeah,
yeah,
unreal.
yep.
So I have one last funny story to tell you.
I got it.
So, and I don't remember. I'll say 2012. Chris had to go to a wedding in Chicago. Mark was the band was on tour with Sheryl Crow, Ziggy Marley, and Train. It was the Jeep World Summer Tour. Mark called me up and he said, "Listen, Chris has to go to this wedding in Chicago. Um, obviously can't not do the shows. Can you fly? We're going to send you the set. Can you fly out, learn the set, and fly out and do shows with us in California and Arizona?" So I'm shitting my pants. I'm like, okay. And at the time I'm living in Rhode Island, I went down to my basement and I just learned their set. I just listened to it and tried to mimic it, basically. Fly out to California, um, hanging out with Sheryl Crow, Ziggy Marley, da da da. We do these shows. The only time that O.A.R did not play Crazy Game of Poker was when I played with them. And I'll tell you why. The first night in California, we played it. I fucking train wrecked it. I train wrecked it. And I train wrecked it. And I went to the guys. I'm like, listen, guys, like, this is your song, and I can't do it justice. I just couldn't get the same. Like, it's such a big song for them that I really couldn't get it. So the only time in the history of O.A.R that they didn't end a show with poker was that tour in Arizona when I was playing drums. That's the only time ever in their 30-year career.
God, I missed it.
It's
Oh,
great. Like
that's
I fucking train wrecked it. I train wrecked it so I could play all their other stuff, like whatever, not as good as Chris, but just enough that they were,
yeah,
to get by. Um, no one would really know. But poker, man, oh dude, because it has so many changes and
yeah.
it has so many different parts to it,
It's four
and I
songs in
just
one.
like, oh, I fucking train wrecked it,
Yeah,
dude.
and
and
you
like,
you
and I remember, and I remember going to the band. I was like, guys, like, listen, you guys, I can carry you guys through this for the next show in Arizona, whatever. But like, we can't do poker because that's the song, and it's worse for me to blow it up than just to not play it.
right.
And that was one of the that was maybe they haven't, but that's a story from the archives.
I
It's one of the
played
few times
drums.
they didn't play poker.
I played drums in high school. I say that loosely, but you want to talk about seeing a kid evolve and become a really good drummer? Chris Koulos he's his chops over the last 25 years
Dude,
have been unbelievable.
so good. So
Yeah,
he has worked hard, man, and he's had you know drum teachers and all that stuff. I mean, I'm telling you, man, I remember when these kids were like 10th graders in high school, and his father's a drummer.
yeah,
So his father basically taught him how to play the drums, and yeah, just like and Richard, when he was so terrified of going playing in front of people, he wouldn't. Like he was so shy. But he was this really talented guitar, could pick it up, but he just wouldn't. So shy to see like how Chris has evolved and just been like he's a master at his craft.
yeah,
Richard, you know, has evolved into like this incredibly stage presence. Got all It's just it cracks me up, man. Because I remember these kids like we were kids like hanging out at my parents' house. This is wild.
yeah. Well, man, I honestly, Jeff, I can't thank you enough for taking the last hour and shooting the shit and telling your stories. Like it's this is like
Hell yeah, dude,
like
Jim.
18, 19-year-old me
Jim,
is
you're
losing his
fucking the
mind right
shit,
now.
man. I love it.
you know, and I mean,
It's crazy, man. All of us, we were kids. We all were kids. You were a kid, like listening to these tunes. We were just and like to be able to sit here now and just like shoot the shit about this stuff is it's
yeah,
pretty remarkable, man.
yeah,
It's awesome,
and
and
like,
thank you so much,
oh
man.
hell
I
yeah,
am
man!
like
Like,
honored to do
I'm
this.
I'm honestly I'm hoping I can figure it out that I can make it to Mohegan on Sunday because I haven't seen O.A.R now in almost 10 years. It's
Yeah,
the last time I
yeah,
saw them was on the tour they opened for Train.
right,
So it's been a
right.
while.
And they I think they played Fox, like they did a Foxwood show at that point or something because I
Yeah,
think I was at that show.
yeah,
One of the shows of Train, yeah,
yeah.
somewhere in
I
there.
think I think I
Yeah,
need some nostalgia. So
crazy.
maybe we'll figure it out. But thanks
Listen, man,
again.
if you make it down there, text me. We'll sneak you in. We'll do all
Okay.
that shit. And then listen, we're playing Halloween at the Ocean Mist this year.
Yeah,
So if you want to come down to Southern Rhode Island and hang out the Mist and drink some beers and do that, let me know, man. We'll hang
I
out the
will.
Ocean Mist.
I will. I have two questions for you that I don't want on the air. So I'm gonna stop this and
Okay.
and ask you. All right. All right. Well, Jeff,
Okay.
and now everybody's like,
All
oh,
right,
now
go
I
for
want
it.
to know. Fuck off. You don't get to know. um, but
Yeah,
thanks
what's
again,
the
man.
secret?
I appreciate you so much.
You got it, brother.
All right. Hold on.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. This is wonderful.
Of course, man. All right. Oh, well, there you have it, everybody. Our conversation with Jeff Roberge. Um, I'm proud of myself for saying the last name properly because forever, I remember when I was young, it was Mark Roberge, and because, you're a kid and you're stupid and you don't listen to interviews and all this stuff. But the second I heard Mark say Roberge, like that's all I can think about in my brain. But again, thank you so much, Jeff, for being here. And thank all of you for tuning in. And listen, I'm gonna shoot my shot, Mark. If you're listening to this or have listened to this, and you want to come on and shoot the shit, God, dude, would I be for like you? As I said in the conversation, you are the reason why we do this. So it would mean the world to me. If not, well, I'll go fuck myself. No big deal. It's fine. We're fine. We're all fine. But I guess that's that's my shooting my shot. Um, so yeah, so thank you everybody for being here. Thank you for tuning in. Like I said, we're gonna post a bunch of shit from this past week, and yeah, I know I've been talking about dumping a bunch of episodes coming up. We are. I'm doing a whole dump very very soon, and I'm probably not going to announce it ahead of time. It's just going to happen. So listen to those. Don't whatever. We got some great episodes coming out that I just need to focus on. So. Not that those episodes are bad. That makes me sound like a complete douchebag. But it just if you've listened to this show, you know what the hell I'm talking about. So anyway, we'll see you next Tuesday, guys. Thank you all so much for being here, and be good to each other. Have a great week, and we might have Morgan Wallen this weekend. We might not. I don't know. And we may or may not have Foxtrot Zulu and O.A.R on Sunday. So stay tuned. Cheers, guys.